Well, the 40s was not an easy time in history. The nation was recovering from the Great Depression and entering wartime. But our Suncoast beaches and warm breezes still beckon people to come here. Jeff LaHerd is an author and a historian who has studied Sarasota over all the years, and he knows exactly what was going on here 70 years ago. Jeff, you were so lucky that you were able to look back on all of this. So much of it we don't even know about.
Well, yeah, it's been so long ago, but of course the big news was World War II, and Sarasota played a significant role in World War II because we were training grounds for the Army Air Force. Oh. And we had 3,500 men training here and another 3,800 training in Venice.
So they got to know this area well.
Yeah, for most of them, they probably never have been to Florida, you know, and they come from these small towns and they come to this place. It must have been like, wow.
Yeah. And some of them moved here when they came back,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely, a lot of them did because, you know, here we have so much to offer. Then they go to World War II, and the only good memories they've had is being in Sarasota. I mean, their last memories of America. So a lot of them did come back here. And
we're very happy to have them. Let's look back at some of the pictures from those years. Now tell me about this one.
Now that was one of Sarasota's most popular hotels. It was a seasonal hotel in the 40s, and it was built as the Elver Nona by Owen Burns in 1926. And then John Ringling acquired it a few years later. And after he died, his nephew took it over and imbued it with the trappings of the circus. So it was really one of the more popular places in town. They would have circus acts in the dining room, and they had a lounge called the Toto Room Lounge, and that was one of the most popular watering holes in Sarasota.
I heard there was a baby elephant in the dining room. Was that true?
I had never heard that. But there was a horse that Captain Hire had his horse Starless Night act in the dining room, prancing around.
Somebody had been drinking and they thought it was an elephant.
Yeah, well, you had to be careful where you stepped.
There's the circus now. It was in town in the 40s?
Right, it moved to town in December of 1927 because of the land bust. Ringling wanted to attract people here because he had a lot of property to sell. So it opened on what was then Oriente Road, where Glen Oaks subdivision is today.
Oh, wow.
And for a number of years, it was the #1 tourist attraction in the state.
Now, what is this?
Now, this is an annual blessing of the trains. That's Monsignor Elslander standing on the ground with his 2 altar boys, and then that's John Ringling North, who was president of the circus at that time.
So they got blessed every time they went away?
Every year they would get blessed before they went away.
I think I just heard the circus train go by.
I know.
Those were wonderful days because when they landed in town, they spread out, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely they did. It was a real boost to the economy, too.
I was 2 years old then, so I didn't really hear a lot, but I did know the circus was in Sarasota.
Yeah,
My parents thought that was a really big thing. Now, this is Lido Casino.
Right, this is probably the most storied place in Sarasota's history. It was a Works Progress Administration building that was designed by Ralph Twitchell, and it opened in 1940, and this was the favorite place for the soldiers to go on their leaves.
Go figure. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine, like, these small town people, and this was just a beautiful Art Deco place, and it was...
but no gambling.
No gambling. They used it for social events, cultural events, political rallies, proms were held there. They had Rudy Bundy, the Rudy Bundy Orchestra played there. It was a great place.
And what's there now?
A humble pavilion is in this place right now.
That's where the pavilion is, the dressing rooms and so forth. Now that's the casino at its height. Look at that person in the air.
Yeah, they had a high dive and a low dive, and while it doesn't look like much now, when I was a kid, that high dive looked like the tallest thing in the world. You know, you're afraid to go off of it, or at least I was.
Now what is that?
Now this is Lower Main Street as it would have looked in the 1940s. You know, if you came to Sarasota in 1925 and came back about 35 years later, you basically came back to the same town.
Oh, it didn't change much then for a long time.
Didn't change hardly at all because of the real estate crash and, you know, the Great Depression and war.
That looks like a baseball diamond.
Oh, yeah, baseball was big here since 1924. The New York Giants came, and they stayed 3 years, and their manager, John J. McGraw, lost out in Florida real estate. A lot of people invested in his land and they went bust. So he decided it was prudent not to come back anymore. So they brought the Boston Red Sox in 1933, and they stayed till 1958.
Okay.
And oh, look at this, the Sarasota
That's
Army
the Sarasota
Airfield?
Army Airfield. Yeah, it started out, as I said, it held 3,500 trainees. And it started out being a training base for B-17 bombers, but the runways proved inadequate, so they changed it to a fighter training base. And in Tampa, when they were training pilots, they had an expression, a plane a day in Tampa Bay, because they'd have these crashes. Sarasota had a couple of them.
Wow.
And that's when they switched over to fighter planes.
Okay.
Oh, look, I remember drive-ins.
Oh, yeah.
My mother wouldn't let me go.
Well, this opened in the late 40s. When I used to go there, my father had an Oldsmobile 88 that had the trunk the size of a car itself. So we would put 4 people in the trunk, and then somebody would drive through, give the guy 50 cents or whatever, and then pull in.
And everybody get out?
Get out of the car.
Oh, the good old days.
Yes,
thank you
indeed.
so much,
Well, thank you
Jeff.
for having me.
That was really fun. Now we're going to be dancing, doing some of the dances from the 40s.
Good.
Bobette's is going to be there doing that.
Yeah.
She's my stand-in. We'll be right back.